do not touch the hairs. That's why we are expected to shave. And then mental cleanliness. Always try to think of pure, clean and good things. This is what is called cleanliness. The second aspect is called tapas, which we have already explained in the Kriya Yoga. Practicing precision of thought, word and deed. The third aspect is always try to maintain a happy disposition and a happy mood. Under any circumstances, try as far as possible to maintain a happy disposition in the heart. It's not only maintaining smile on the face and lips against great suffering or sorrow in the heart. This deals more about the disposition of the heart and not the face or lips. The first thing is called in Sanskrit. The second thing is called tapas. The third thing is called santosh. This is explained in Kriya Yoga. The regular study of the scriptures. Next aspect is called total surrender, which is already explained. This is called pranidhana in Sanskrit. These are the aspects in niyama. So, the first step is yama and the second step is niyama. The first step gives regulation of our activities. The second step gives rectification of the vehicles. And he also says, don't have an argument about these aspects with anyone around you. Do not discuss about doing these things with anyone. Do not allow anyone to discuss with you. Either you do if you are convinced, or you stop doing them. But no question of discussing about them. And he gives us a few benefits which we derive by following these aspects. By practicing the first one called harmlessness, you will have enemies. Not only that, your presence removes enmity in the minds of other people. If you go and stay for 15 minutes in a house where there are people who are hostile to one another, who live in the same house but do not speak to each other, who have great complexes about one another in the mind, living under a very high tension. If you spend 15 minutes there and come away, your vibrations will wash off the tensions from their mind until once again they begin to form enmities among themselves. So, at least the effect or impact of your visit will be there for 10 days. That is the result of practicing the first one, harmlessness. And by practicing the second one, truthfulness, you will get the following power. Results follow your doings. That is what exactly Patanjali says. Whatever you do will have its best result. No effort will be useless. So, whatever good you do, whatever thing you program will come true and the result will be realized by you. Because the gap between thought, word and deed will be filled. When people understand that you sincerely mean what you speak, they begin to follow you and they begin to work for you. Otherwise, if they find that there is a gap between your promises and your procedure, they find a sense of insecurity in you because your procedure is unpredictable and people fear to come nearer to you and closer to your heart. They will be on their own guard and they will respect you. As a result of which, the degree of cooperation you get from people will be less and less. So you will find the miraculous result of following truthfulness. That whatever you do will be followed by its good results. People come to you and flock around you, work for you, and exert great exertion for your program. Because they have grown confidence, they have developed confidence in you. They feel great security and safety in you. This is what Patanjali explains. If thieving instincts are removed from you, then you will have all valuable things with you. Automatically, they come to you. When you stop asking for anything, automatically things come to you. If you stop asking something with a hope that things come to you, you will be in great trouble. That is the law of nature. When you don't want anything for yourself, when people understand it, people place everything valuable in your charge. And you will have all great things and valuable things.
Roads and environmental in
For the simple reason, you have no inclination to use them for yourself. That's the reason why these spiritualists are more popular and more powerful than the rulers and administrators and officers. Why rulers or persons in high position are dreaded of yogis? For one simple reason, that they do not want anything for themselves. That is the greatest source, greatest secret of power and energy. All others who follow power will have a miserable fall in the ending. Whereas those who do not believe in power will be always powerful. These are universally true. And they are always true and there is no exception. And then, by following purity of sex, great energy on all planes of action, and magnetism. This is what Patanjali says. People want to spend as much time as possible with you, and they do not know why they want to be with you. It's a great joy to spend time with you. What they feel with you when you practice purity of sex. However great our knowledge may be, however deep we went into the secrets of the scriptures, and however much we might have practiced yoga or meditation, however much powerful in the city or political condition or religious condition of the country, people never care for you when you cannot practice purity of sex. You will be taken only as an average human being, and people will be able to use you, and you will not be able to use people for any good purpose in this world. This power is got by purity of sex. And the next aspect is, by not accepting gifts, you will understand the secret of birth and death. How you have come into this world. Where from living beings come to this world. Where do they go and merge once again? This knowledge can be got only if you have no obligation with anyone in this world. If something is due from you to others, let it be money or labor or work, nature will never entrust you with the power to understand where from people come into this world. And automatically you will know your previous births, not by way of curiosity, not to conduct the foolish experiments of regression into the past, but only to help you choosing your vocations and activity in this life. And also to have a continuity of purpose through life. A continuation of the work you do. Without having this power with you, the work you do will be cut off by the physical death. And again you have to start from the beginning. But when once you get at this stage, you will be born with the same consciousness of continuity of purpose. And you will do your work through centuries and thousands of years. In whichever body you are once again born, you will take up the same work and continue it. That is what is happening with those whom we call the masters of wisdom. For example, whom we call Master Moria, Mr. Kuthumi, Master D.A. Kardigalpur. They are doing the same work of helping humanity since 5,000 and odd years. They were the contemporaries of Lord Krishna when he was here on earth. All the three fellows planned with Krishna for the next 10,000 years. And these fellows are doing the same work even now. For example, Master Kuthumi trained Madame Blavatsky from her childhood. And after a certain age, he appeared to her for the first time in Hyde Park, London, and given her the program of her present life. How to manage with the Theosophical organization, and then entrusted her to Master Walpole, under whose guidance she has written her two great books. So this is what you get when you practice not accepting gifts. And about the second aspect, niyama, if you practice cleanliness, physical and mental, the your glamour about your body will disappear. That is, having hopes upon the body will go away. And you will understand the body only as your instrument. Otherwise, you will be having hopes about this body. And when the time of death comes to this body, it is always an unscientific and idiotic and ignorant death. And it is always a tragedy. While death is quite natural, it is foolish and idiotic to have a tragedy of death. Unless our glamour towards this body goes in our mind. unless we understand this body in its true and scientific sense, and unless we understand death in the true and scientific sense, it is always a big tragedy and a spell of unpleasantness under which we die. So, unless we are purified from death-conditioned mind, we are not free from all the impurities of the mind. So, when you maintain cleanliness of body and mind regularly, gradually you will understand how this body is to be continuously cleaned, how it will be nasty whenever it is not cleaned. And you understand that the body is only a temporary condition. It is not an item, but it is the result of equilibrium. That's why the ancient scientists compared it with a soap bubble. Is there any real existence to a soap bubble? There is soap matter which is not the bubble. There is water which is not the bubble. There is the air which is not the bubble. But all the three put together will form a temporary existence, an equilibrium and a poise, which presents the false existence of a third item called bubble. In fact, there are only three items existing in it. One is the soap, the other is water, and the other is air. But this is the fourth thing which is false. The physical body is like that. It is the result of many existences, but it is not an existence at all. And we will not be convinced of this scientific truth, however scientific our mind may be, unless we practice cleanliness and purity, physical and mental. And then our hopes about this body will suddenly disappear. Because real hopes should be with the work we do and not the body. But since we place our hopes on our body, then whenever we die with great despair, even though we have died many thousands of times in the past. We weep and we feel sorry like dogs and pigs to have a compulsory separation from our loved ones, from the most loved wife or husband, from the children and friends. We will have a merciless cut-off and we feel miserable during the time of departure. It is a miserable journey and we will be saved from this unscientific way of dying. It is the art of dying and the science of death by following cleanliness. Also, we become fit to have a concept of what we call soul. And automatically, you will have a mastery over your senses and sense organs. You will have an equilibrium and a mastery over the three qualities of existence. The three qualities are Rajas, Tamas and Sattva. Rajas is activity in you, which is the dynamic aspect. Tamas is the inertia in you, which is the habit-forming faculty. Either of the two dominates our mind always. Activity dominates. We are nervous, hyperactive, irritable, angry, and proposing many things to do which are not true. We feel like doing many things which are important. We begin to fancy that many things are important. Instead of waiting for things to come to you, you will begin to run after things and get disappointed and get involved into many circumstances. If the other one is working in you, then
you will try to avoid what you are expected to do. You will develop escapism as philosophy. You will find lethargy and laziness. Until there is a poise, we have to run between these two aspects. One type of difficulty when the activity aspect is dominant. Another type of difficulty when the inertia aspect is dominant. Then once we touch the poise, we will be able to come out of the three and attain a mastery over the three states. So, by practicing cleanliness, you will get this aspect, this mastery also. That is Patanjali's opinion about cleanliness.